Welcome to another episode of Better Business, Better Life. I'm your host, Debra Chantry-Taylor. I'm passionate about helping entrepreneurs and their leadership teams get what they want out of business and life. On the show, I invite successful business owners and expert speakers to share their successes. They are open and honest about the highs and lows of business and also life as a business owner. We want to share those learnings with you to inspire you, but also to help you avoid some of the common mistakes. My hope is that you take something from each of these short episodes that you can put into action to help you get what you want, not only out of your business, but also your life. Good morning and welcome to another episode of Better Business, Better Life. My name is Debra Chantry-Taylor and I'm the host of this podcast series. And you are listening to another pre-recorded podcast because by the time this goes live, I will hopefully be somewhere in the middle of the South Island in a camper van with my husband and my two dogs, enjoying some amazing scenery and hopefully some good food and good wine. So today I am going to be talking to you about what we call the EOS Life. So in the last podcast, we talked about the EOS model and how that actually helps to strengthen your business. And today we're going to talk about the EOS Life, which is the outcome of creating a better business. So this whole podcast was actually developed around the EOS Life. I talk about better business equals better life. The idea being that if we can actually strengthen your business so it's not reliant on you and you have the right structure, you have the right people, the right vision, you're measuring the right things, you are dealing with issues at their root cause, you are documenting your processes and they're being followed by all, and you have a meeting pulse and rocks to actually run the business, you're going to end up being able to let go. And that is one of the most important things. So what is the EOS Life? The EOS Life, as we describe it, it talks to five key things. And I'm going to just give you the overview, then I'm going to deep dive into each of these key things and give you a little bit of background about what that means and how you can use some of the EOS tools to help you to get there. So the EOS Life is described as doing what you love, with people you love, making a huge difference, being compensated appropriately, with time to pursue other passions. And that is the life that we wish for with all of our clients who undertake EOS in their business. So let's have a look at the five key areas of this. And there is a really great book called The EOS Life, How to Live Your Ideal Entrepreneurial Life, which is written by Gino Wickman, the author of Traction. And it goes into a lot more detail. And I really highly recommend you get hold of a copy of this book and sit down with a notepad or a journal and actually work through the exercises in the book. But just in terms of, doing what you love here today, how can I help you with that? This is really about ensuring that you are absolutely doing the thing that you are great at. It could be called your God-given talent, your unique ability. And what Gino says is that we have a genetic encoding that is unique to ourselves. We have a talent or a superpower. We have a personal sweet spot. There's something that you love to do and that you're great at doing. You're really passionate about it and it is your purpose. And so your job is to figure out exactly what that is. And once you're really clear on it, you spend all of your working time doing it. So there is an exercise in the book that talks to you about, how you can actually start to explore why you're on this planet, what you love to do. But one of the greatest things that I have found, one of the best tools to actually help with this, is a thing that we call Delegate and Elevate. And I'm going to put a link in the podcast where you can go and download these tools to use for yourself. But effectively, the Delegate and Elevate tool is a really, really simple tool that helps you to understand what you're doing week in, week out, day in, day out, and start to classify it into one of the four quadrants. And in those quadrants, there is at the top of the top two quadrants are the things that you love doing and you're great at doing. So, for example, if I think about myself, this is things like running sessions with leadership teams. This is actually doing podcasts, normally with guests. I much prefer it with guests. It is doing presentations. It is around sharing the knowledge that I have from 30 odd years of experience of managing and leading teams. So I love it. I'm great at doing it. They're the things that would sit in that quadrant. The next quadrant is the thing that you like doing and you're good at doing, which means that it may not be the love, but it's certainly the stuff that you don't mind doing. And so this might be, I actually quite like writing articles. I'm hoping to work on a book myself. And I'm pretty good at that. So it's pretty easy for me to actually do that. And in the bottom half of the quadrant, there is two areas. There's things you don't like doing and you're good at doing it. And there's things you don't like doing and you're not good at doing it. So don't like doing it, but good at doing it. I'm actually half German. And so I am particularly good at cleaning. I can clean a house like nobody else. It will be absolutely spotless and immaculate. Problem is, I don't really like doing it. And so in fact, the whole time that I'm cleaning the house, I'm sitting here with gritted teeth, whinging, complaining about it, because it's not something that makes my heart sick. So when I'm doing this activity, even though I'm very good at it, I'm not enjoying doing it. I'm in that negative space of, do I have to do this? There's a whole bunch more things in business as well. I'm pretty good at most things, if I'm honest, but I'm a generalist. But there's a whole lot of stuff that I really don't like doing. And when you're doing this stuff, it's when you're in that space of you're not enjoying it, and it becomes hard. The bottom right quadrant is called don't like doing it and not good at doing it. And if you think about this is the stuff that you not only don't like doing, but you're not particularly good at doing it. So for me, from a high level perspective, I'm actually very, very good at finances. So I sit on boards. I'm used to reading board papers, board finances. I can read a balance sheet. I can work through profit and loss. I can do all of that. But I don't really like doing it. And when it comes to day-to-day accounting stuff, you would never want me actually doing the books, because the worst thing that I can do is actually do the accounting, the invoicing, the bookkeeping, because I don't like doing it, and I'm not particularly good at it. You can almost guarantee that creates an absolute mess when it comes to reconciling the books. So for me, that's definitely one of those things that's in that bottom right-hand quadrant. So the way that I would approach this is that I get my clients, I do it myself once a quarter as well, is to go through a week. And as you go through your week, take a note of every single thing you're doing. For me, I do it in my personal life as well as my professional life. And I go, what is every single thing I have had to do this week? And I write it down. And then I start to classify them into those 4 quadrants. And so if you put everything into these 4 quadrants, what you will then start to see, the top quadrant is the stuff that you should actually be doing the most of, particularly the top left-hand, which is love doing it and great at doing it. And if you can spend most of your time in that quadrant with a little bit from the right-hand side quadrant of being good, like doing it and good at doing it, you're going to be in your best element in terms of you're going to be enjoying what you're doing. You're going to get a lot of satisfaction from what you're doing, but also from a value add perspective, this is probably the stuff where you add the most value to the business as well. So this is really, really important. If you want to be doing what you love, you need to know what it is that you can do, what it is that you love doing, and also recognize the things that you don't love and you don't enjoy doing. That's the very, very first part of the EOS life. And it's really, everybody is different. And so, you might I talked about accounting not being my thing. So that's definitely in my don't like doing, not great at. But there is somebody else out there who absolutely loves that. As an example, my husband is an actuary. He loves maths. He loves numbers. He loves doing that kind of stuff. So there's somebody out there that could actually do that stuff. So delegate and elevate means, first of all, you recognize what are you really, really good at doing? What do you love doing? What do you enjoy doing? And then what don't you? And then you find somebody to actually delegate it to. So you can elevate yourself up to that God-given talent, that unique ability, the thing that you add the most value. If, like a lot of Kiwis try to do, the number 8 wire mentality, I can do it all. If you try to do everything, what you will find is that there's an opportunity cost. You haven't given yourself the time to do the stuff where you really add the most value. And when you get bogged down in the stuff that you don't like and you don't enjoy doing and you hate doing, you're also going to create this really difficult, it's like walking through mud. It feels hard, it is hard, and it puts you in that very negative space. So I would suggest the best thing you can do is to sort of work on this delegate and elevate role, have a look at it, have a think around what it is that you want to do, what it is you don't want to do, and then think about delegating to other people. And delegating can be a number of different things. It could be somebody else in the organization. It could be externally. So I have a VA over in the Philippines who helps me. I have an assistant and an integrator. And basically we've gone through and I delegated and elevated to my integrator. So this is the things I don't want to do. I'm no good at doing. You need to do that. And then she's gone through the same process and actually delegated to the VA over in the Philippines. So between the 3 of us, we're all working in our absolute sweet spot. We're getting the most value and offering the most value to the business as well. Now, what tends to happen with us as entrepreneurs is we'll come up with this great big long list. We'll go, right, I'm just going to delegate the whole lot. Sadly, that's not going to work. So the best thing you can actually do is looking at delegating just one thing per quarter. Take something from that bottom half, from those bottom 2 quadrants, and just start to delegate one thing per quarter until eventually you feel comfortable that everything you have delegated has gone. It gets a bit more complex in a larger business. I remember when I was running intercity coach lines and we had 220 staff, not quite so easy to do this exercise, but you want everybody in your team actually doing it, because it's not just about the owner of the business or the leader of the business. We actually want everybody in the organization to be doing what they are really, really good at. So we start with the leader, we start with the leadership team, we then look at the next level down, but we get everybody to say, hey, where do you really add the most value and how can we make sure that we are actually doing that? Number 2. So doing what you love, but number 2 is with people you love. And Zig Ziglar, who I'm sure you're all aware of, actually had a great quote. You will either look back in life and say, I wish I had, or I'm glad I did. And so the way that I like to think about working with people that you love, it's about surrounding yourself with people who actually make you feel good. People, they don't have to be exactly the same as you. Surrounding yourself with mini-me's may not be the best thing to do, because we want diversity and we want different people in our lives who add value. But if you think about the 2 extreme ends of a spectrum, on the low end, you can go through life surrounded by people who drain your energy, that you've constantly got to push. They complain about their problems. They're just not fun to be around. And they make you feel like crap, or they make you feel less than what you should be. Or on the high end, you can surround yourself with people who keep pace with you, people who are uplifting, make you feel good, they're energizing, they solve problems, and people you look forward to being around who actually make you better. And so this is about creating not only a work environment, but your community, your family, everybody. I remember talking to one of my fellow EOS implementers, Scott Rusnak, and he was saying that, he actually takes this very, very seriously in all aspects of his life. He looks at, just because people are family members does not mean you have to spend time with them if they don't actually make you feel good about yourself. And so, yes, we have a commitment, if you like, from being a family member, but you can prioritize and go, actually, I love this part of my family. I want to spend lots more time with them. And this other family, not so much. I'm going to very much temper how much time, if any, I spend with them. And then you do it with your family, your friends. I mean, there's a real great exercise you can do around who are the most important friends in your life and who do you want to spend the time with. I think often we try to be everything to everybody. We try and spread ourselves too thin. And as a consequence, we feel overwhelmed and stressed. And we're surrounding ourselves with people who aren't necessarily making us the best version of ourselves that we can be. So family, friends, business, who are the people you want to surround yourself with? Who are the people who uplift you, who make you feel good, who you have a lot of fun with? Life is too short to not be doing what you love with people you love and having some fun along the way. So just have a think about, what are the people around you like? And the tool that we use in EOS is actually called the People Analyzer, and it can be used from a business perspective, but also from a personal perspective as well. And in this People Analyzer, what we do is we go, what are our company's core values? And if you're doing it personally, what are your personal core values? And you put the core values across the top, you put the person's name on the left-hand side, and then you actually start to rate them. And you go, right, how does this person do in terms of those core values? So from a business perspective, we might use the 5 core values of EOS: be humbly confident, grow or die, help first, do the right thing, and do what you say. You would then put your staff next to that and say, right, so the name is Debra. How does she do with being humbly confident? And we give them a really, really simple rating. So if they are mostly exhibiting this value of being humbly confident, they'll get a plus. When I say mostly, I say 90% of the time. We are all human beings. We're going to have times when we're not absolutely on our best. But as long as we can say 90% of the time we're mostly doing it, then that would be a plus. Then we have a plus minus. And this is where somebody flip-flops. And I'm sure you've seen this in business where, one day they come in and they're beautifully, humbly confident. You think, yes, this person is on fire. And the very next day, they're completely arrogant. And you go, what is going on here? So a plus minus is an opportunity to understand what's really going on behind that and what's happening with that person, and working with them to sort of understand how you can actually improve that as a leader. The next score is an absolute minus. And a minus means that most of the time this person does not exhibit this particular core value. And this is something that in my experience and experience of the people I've worked with, it's almost impossible to change. So you're going to score people on your values, plus, minus, and minus. In business, you're going to use that to understand, are these people the people you really love having around you? And for a personal level, you can do it with your friends and your family as well, because it's really important. You want people who share the same values. You might be completely different. My husband and I, from a personality perspective, are almost worlds apart. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a risk taker. I do things that scare the pants off of him. He's an actuary. He's a numbers man. He doesn't take any risks. He's an absolute introvert. I talk all of my stuff out loud. I'm not an extrovert in terms of being life and soul of the party, but the way that I process and think about things is by talking about them. And yet he will have to go away and think and sit on something as an introvert to actually make a decision. So we're at completely opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of the way that we actually operate. But from a values perspective, we are spot on. We share the same core values throughout our life, and I love spending time with him. He makes me laugh. We can have a lot of fun together. That's the person I love being around. And similarly, in my work situation, we have got people in the team who absolutely get our core values. And when you have that, it is just a joy to come to work. As soon as you don't, you'll start to feel that something is not quite right. And so you need to be really honest with yourself and go, are these really the people we actually want around us? That's the basics of with people you love. And I think that, the book talks a lot more about how you could do this with all of your things. But the real questions you want to ask yourself is, how close are you to being surrounded by people you love 100% of the time? What would it look like to be at 100%? Why aren't you there yet? What would it take to get to 100%? Who are the ones you love being with, and who are the ones you don't? So if you can answer those 5 questions, you're well on your way to actually working through how you can be doing what you love with people you love. Number 3 is making a huge difference. And this is one of the things that really stood out to me when I first started training in EOS. I know my why. I've known my why for a long, long time. I'm put on this planet to actually help people, and I want to leave a legacy. And by leaving a legacy, I don't mean winning awards. I mean actually making a difference to the people that I come in contact with. If I leave this planet and the people I have touched have come out with a better life, then I have achieved my goal. Now, Steve Jobs has a very good quote here: the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. And I think that's also accompanied by another quote, is that, the people who end up being geniuses are actually called crazy until they do it, and then suddenly they're a genius. So making a huge difference is completely relative. There is no right or wrong answer. For me, like I said, making a difference means that I can actually help other people to live a better life. And more specifically, for me, it's around helping business owners, because I've been a business owner since I was 13 years old. It's in my blood. It's my passion. And I've gone through some really good times and some really tough times. And I know that I don't want anybody to have to go through more pain than they have to, because life is too short. One day we'll wake up dead. How do we make sure we make most of our time in that? And if you spend too much time working in your business, and you're completely tied to it with nothing else outside of that, then that can be a dangerous place, and it can cause all kinds of things: burnout, stress, overwhelm, you name it. So once you've kind of worked out what your destiny is, what is your why? So my why, my reason for being, is to actually help entrepreneurs live a better life. Then you can start to think about, okay, how do I actually make a huge difference in terms of what I do? And the tools that we use here in EOS is the thing called the Vision Traction Organizer. And it is a 2-page strategic plan, which basically answers 8 fundamental questions about who you are, why you exist, who you serve, where you're headed in the long term, what does it look like, what does it feel like, what are the things you need to do to gain traction to get there, your 1-year plan, your 90-day rocks. There's a whole bunch of questions in there. I'm not going to go through them all right now, but you can download the tool again from the link in the podcast, and it will give you the tool. And if you get hold of the EOS Life book, or even the Traction book, you can see exactly how that plays out. But what it does do is it gives you a really strong sense of your vision, your future, where you're headed. And sometimes when things are really, really tough, you need that reconnection. And not just you, but your team as well. So, we have got a VTO for the business, and I've got a VTO for our personal life as well. And when things are tough or get tough, which they do, I mean, let's face it, life is not a bed of roses. I can immediately kind of hook back into that. With the team, we can hook back into that. We're having a tough time. COVID for the second time is really, really hard. Dealing with the fallout of people not being available. I mean, all of it affects our business, our feelings, our emotions. But if we can hook back into the reason that we exist and what we're doing as a business, then that means that we have the ability to keep going and to ensure that we're really focused on the things that will make a difference. So if you look at the action steps from the EOS Life book, the questions that we want to answer here is, how close are you to spending 100% of your time making the impact that you want? Again, what would it look like to be at 100%? Why aren't you there yet? What would it take to get to 100%? And how do you want to make a huge difference in the world? And once you have answered those questions and you're really, really clear on why you are here and what you want to achieve, then you can start to break it down into sort of nice bite-sized chunks, piece of work, and what's the next thing you can do in the next 7 days to come closer to make a huge difference. It can be within your workplace. What are the 90-day rocks? What are the action steps and the to-dos I need to do for that? It can be in your personal life. What do I need to do in that space to actually make sure that I'm moving forward? That is really how we look at making a huge difference in the world. Point number 4 is about being compensated appropriately. The quote here is from Napoleon Hill, and it says, "Those who do more than they are paid for will sooner or later be willingly paid for more than they do." And so again, how much we get paid, what we get paid is all very, very relative. Some people might just want to earn $100,000, but they want to spend a whole lot of free time with their family, with their children. Some people want 1 million, some people want 10 million per year. It's all appropriate, which is why the actual saying is being compensated appropriately. So you've actually got to decide for yourself, what do you feel is the right amount? Some people want to shoot for the absolute moon. Other people go, actually, I know what I want from my life, and it isn't all about money, but it's about actually just knowing what it is that you want to do. And then once you've made that choice, you need to work out, in direct proportion, what's the value that you can actually create. So once you have that number in mind, how are you adding value for people? Can you create more value so you can actually be compensated appropriately for it? So the tools that we use in the EOS model to actually make sure that we are being compensated appropriately is using the delegate and elevate and thinking about the stuff that we talked about in the first part, which is actually, what is the stuff that I'm really, really great at? And just giving a personal example here in my business, and I appreciate it's a small business, not necessarily a mid-sized business, but if you think about the fact that I love doing client sessions, I love sharing information, I love being able to help people see how they can lead a better life, then the work that I do in that is actually the work that I get paid the most for. All of the other stuff, realistically, is just by the by. That is where that real sweet spot is. And that is where I can add the most value, and that's where I get compensated appropriately for doing it. So, understanding value. Let's say you currently earn $50,000 and you decide you want to earn $100,000. How can you add more value to reach that level of compensation? Comes down to you can help more people get what they want by solving their problems. So you can do this for customers and clients or your co-workers and employees. And there's a really good example here in the book about how you can actually, escalate that value and apply economic leverage. But the reality is that you need to think about elevating yourself beyond doing the work that is actually, we call it $25 an hour work, right? It's the stuff that you really shouldn't be doing, that you could actually outsource to somebody else to free you up to be in that space where you add the most value. So a classic example from me is with every single business owner and leadership team that I work with, I say to them, I hope you're not cleaning your own house, because we know I'm good at cleaning houses. We've already discussed this before, right? So I'm good at cleaning houses, but let's face it, cleaning a house takes me 3 or 4 hours in a week. I can pay somebody $25, $30 an hour to actually do that for me. And that gives me 3 or 4 hours more free in my week to do the stuff that I'm really good at. Now, I could use that to do more work. I could use that to work on more business development, write more books, produce more podcasts. Or I could actually go, no, you know what? I would like to actually use that to spend more time doing the things that I love. And so it isn't always about freeing yourself up in order to make more money, but it's about deciding what is important for you. However, in a business sense, if you can free yourself up to the absolute sweet spot work that is the stuff that you love and you're great at, it will naturally follow that the value will come with it, and therefore you'll get paid more. Similar kinds of questions we should ask ourselves once we've thought about, what is the work that we do and how do we do it? How close are you to earning 100% of what you want to earn? What would it look like to be at 100%? Why aren't you there yet? What would it take to get to 100%? What are the ways you could add more value? And what activities or responsibilities can you delegate to spend more time on providing people more value? So get that $25 an hour work done by somebody else, outsource it, elevate yourself to the stuff that you really, really are good at, and think about how can I add more value to my clients? The podcast for me is actually one of those things. This is how I actually add more value than just the work that I do within EOS. I bring on board other clients, people who run businesses, who can actually share their experiences, share what they have learnt, and give you tools and tips you can actually use yourself in your business, which adds more value for the work that I do. And last but not least, we have number 5, which is with time for other passions. And Warren Buffett is not surprisingly the person who's quoted him here. So the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. And this goes dead set against, what we're taught when we're growing up. We try to be people pleasers. We try to kind of work harder. We try to do as much as we can. My father always said, you should always give everything a go. But there is actually a time when you have to say no. And the book goes on to say, you're not balanced if you're working 100% of the time. You're not complete. As the saying goes, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. You should work hard and play hard. And so you've got to think about in this particular aspect, what is it that you absolutely enjoy doing? What is it you love? So for Steve and I, we really enjoy walking in nature. We love photography. We like cycling. We love spending time with our family and friends, or some of them at least. And we enjoy entertaining. We enjoy cooking. So it's like if you start to make a list of all the things that you love to do, then you need to make sure that you actually have time to do that. Because if you're working every hour that God sends, you're too tired to do the things you love outside of work, then you're out of balance. You're going backward and you're burning out. You will eventually get completely burnt out. So you've got to make time to rejuvenate. And there's this whole work-life balance thing that, to be honest, does my head in. It's like a misconception. People go, work-life balance means that you have to do half and half. Well, does it? I mean, for me, I actually really enjoy what I do. And so for me, I actually enjoy spending time what I'm doing. So some people will love working 70 hours a week. I've got an amount that I like. It's about 55 to 60. If I do 55 to 60 hours actually in the business, and of course, I always think about it outside. I'm always thinking about it in the morning when I wake up. I'm thinking about it on the weekend. But in terms of actually working, I know my ideal is 55 to 60 hours. And so you need to decide what that magic number is for you. For some people, it might be 30 hours a week. For others, it's 80 hours a week. There is no right or wrong answer. But try to work out, I liken it to there's a diminishing return, right? I know that once I go above 55 hours, heading up to 60, I'm okay. Once I go over 60, I just don't get the productivity anymore. I'm exhausted. I'm not working well. It doesn't work for me. It's a bit like my sleep. I know that I need to have 8 hours sleep, but if I don't get 8 hours sleep, I really struggle. So if you can work out what that sweet spot is, where you get no more, you're actually starting to drop off in terms of performance, and then commit to it and decide that's how you're going to do it. And again, if you are struggling to make time for the things that you love to do, so if I've got my 55, 60 hours, I actually go through and I make sure that I block out times. I block out times for spending time with my husband. I block out times for having meals together. I block out times for my holiday. I go through my whole year at the beginning of the year and work out what it is that I need to do. And if you work out, but if you do that, how am I going to get all the work done? Well, the reality is, if you are doing more than 100% of your available working time, for me, 55, 60 hours a week, then it's time for you to think about who can I actually delegate to. This is where we use a thing called the accountability chart, where we go through and we go, right, this is this, I've got 55, 60 hours a week. What are the things that I have in my accountability chart? What can I actually delegate in terms of roles, responsibilities, and accountabilities to other people? And then once you're really, really clear on that, and you're clear about what you're doing in your business, where you sit in the accountability chart and how many hours you wish to work, you've then got to get down to that power of saying no. And so that Warren Buffett quote is, the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. So if you're really good at saying no, it frees you up from the trap you've created for yourself. So you think about all the things we've talked about so far. We've talked about doing what you love. So you know what you absolutely love. If you're asked to do something and it doesn't fit into that sweet spot of doing what you love, you should be saying no to it. Doing it with people that you love. If you've got clients that, you don't really quite like, or you're feeling there's not a connection there, then you've got to say no to them. Sometimes sacking clients is the best possible thing because it opens up a huge opportunity for other clients to come on board. Often we find ourselves caught in the trap of, we're so busy working hard with the wrong type of clients. There's no room for the right type of clients to come in. So say no to things that are not doing what you love. Say no to working with people you don't love. Think about your purpose and your passion and your why. Making a huge difference is what you're being asked to do, either from a work perspective or a personal perspective. Is it actually making the boat go faster? Is it actually helping you on that journey to achieving your why? And if not, you need to say no. And then being compensated appropriately. You've got to think about, hey, is there actually something that I am doing that is not rewarding me from a financial perspective? And do I have to say no to that too? The very last thing I want to leave you with, and this is very much across all of this in terms of EOS Life, is just, it's like being really, really careful that you are doing the right things with the right people and not being afraid to say no. So I think that sometimes we really struggle with, letting people down. And I know in the book, Gino talks about the fact that, he used to, when he was younger, be a number of different people in different scenarios. With his friends, he'd be one person, with his family, be another person, with his work colleagues, be another person. And all the energy that was kind of consumed by that was really draining for him. He had to be all these different people. And I think I've also discovered this probably 3 or 4 years ago, is that actually, if I just be my true self 100% all of the time, then I don't have to expend energy trying to be what people want me to be. And this means that some people will like me and some people won't like me. And in the past, I would hate that. So, but why don't they like me? I think I'm a good person. What's wrong with me? And now I've realized that I don't have to have everybody like me. There'll be people who absolutely love me and want to be with me, and there'll be people that don't, and that is absolutely okay. So my plea to you is to make sure that you're not being a whole bunch of different people for different people. Be yourself, be your true self, and just enjoy what short time we have on this planet. And the very, very final tip for today is make sure you take time out too. We talk about clarity breaks in the EOS. When you are constantly working, and I've got to be honest, right now, I'm just about to shoot out, after this recording, to go away on holiday. I actually need it. I need some time out right now. It's been a really tough couple of months, and it has been absolutely exhausting. And I know that if I don't go away and recharge, I'm not doing my best work. So Jen and I have decided we're both taking, the month of October pretty much off to go and refresh, recharge, and make sure we come back with clarity around what it is that we're doing. And this doesn't have to be taking weeks off. You can just take an hour, 2 hours off every week, every month, whatever cadence works for you. But please, please, please take time away from your technology. Take time away from all the fighting fires in the business. Take time away from always being there for clients. Take time away from being there, in the business, and just take some time to be with yourself. And for me, on my trip, this will mean Steve and I have committed to only doing 1 hour per day on technology. And the rest of the time, we're actually going to be present in nature. We're going to be enjoying each other's company. We're going to be playing games. And you know what? I guarantee my best possible ideas will come from this break we're about to take. I know that when I sit down and I remove myself from fighting fires, from always working in the business, working hard to get it to moving forward, when I actually take the time out is when I actually get my moments, my aha moments. So if you haven't done it already, book a time in your diary, call it a clarity break, take 1 or 2 hours, at least once a month, I would recommend, perhaps more so. And do make sure that in your year, when you plan your year, have a chunk of time that's going to be your holiday time. Have a big chunk of good holiday time, and then some smaller chunks throughout the year as well. But then stick to it. Say no. When somebody says, but we can only do this date with this session, I'm really sorry, but I'm not available on that date. We must be able to work with the other dates I've got here. So that is my version of the EOS Life. The book does a much better job, if I'm really honest. Gino wrote it. He's an amazing man. The stuff that he has in there is just invaluable. It's got an accompaniment with it as well as an EOS Life planner. And that is a great planner for journaling, for writing all this stuff down, for making your commitments, what you're going to do. But it really is just about sitting down and thinking about, are you doing what you love? with people you love? Are you making a huge difference, whatever that means for you? Are you being compensated appropriately for what you're doing? And do you have time to pursue other passions? With that, I'm going to sign off. As I said, I put a link in the comments where you can find all the tools that I'm talking about, including a link to the EOS Life book. I truly wish for everybody to live the EOS life. As I said, life is too short. So, better business, better life. Lovely to talk to you. You'll be hearing a few more of these pre-recorded podcasts over the next couple of weeks. But I have also managed to sneak in a guest who happened to come in this morning. And so I'm actually going to sneak in an extra special episode in the middle of all of my episodes as well. Hopefully that was helpful for you. If you ever need me, just reach out, ask for my help. I'm here to help, but not for the next 4 weeks while I'm away on holiday. Talk to you all soon. Thank you.
Thanks again for joining us on Better Business, Better Life with me, your host, Debra Chantry-Taylor. If you enjoyed what you heard, then please subscribe to this podcast and let us help you to get what you want out of business and life. Each week we release a new short episode which will give a success story and 3 takeouts to put into action immediately. These will help you take your business from good to great. The podcast is also supported by free resources, templates and useful tools which you can find at debrachantrytaylor.com. I am a trained entrepreneurial leadership and business coach, a professional EOS implementer, and an established business owner myself. I work with established businesses to help them get what they want. Feel free to contact me if you'd like to have a chat about how I might be able to help you, or if you'd like to join me as a guest on this podcast. Thanks again to NZ Audio Editors for producing this podcast. See you on the next episode.